Welcome back to Lights, Camera, Whatever. It's Teacher Ray here. We are jumping into Wave Maker. It is on Netflix. It's called Wave Maker, and they did make a lot of waves, trust me, especially in a political aspect. So we're jumping right now into episode 3. So you know what we do. We're going to jump into the description. It says, after a new issue dominates the news cycle, Lin Yue-chen faces some tough questions at a public talk, and Tsai Yi-an is torn between his job and idealism. So we get into the crazy questions, so let's do this. Question 1. Should we wait on large corporations to lead the fight to save the earth, or should we take actions ourselves? Yeah, this is sensitive. This is sensitive because actually, we can't sit around and wait for people to take action. I mean, you have to know that a lot of these large organizations are actually invested by the government in many countries around the world. They're actually invested by the government. So asking them to make certain decisions and take certain actions to deal with, saving the earth. I mean, you're actually telling the government to do that because they're heavily invested. So should we wait on large organizations, corporations? I think absolutely not. I think we have to think from an individual perspective to deal with problems ourselves from an individual. Because a lot of times in many situations, we always complain about a lot of things that need to be changed, but we don't really change ourselves. And we always, human nature, just humans in general. I don't know about animals. I never talk to them. But humans in general, we love to point the finger, right? We love to point the blame at someone else before taking the action. Now, saving the earth will take a collective effort. Now, I do have to say, there are a lot of wealthy people out there who could actually make a huge difference. And it involves money, not necessarily people. So it does involve a human factor to save the earth, but it does require a lot of resources. Now, you might be saying like, wait, Ray, like America, doesn't they print money? I think it's more than that. It does require actual resources as financial and human. So say, for instance, let's talk about Elon Musk, right? I think it was $148 billion for a social media platform. And they said that a portion, like they said, like a speck of that could have solved homelessness 8 times over. A speck, not even a speck, a small, micro, minuscule nano dot of that 148 billion could have solved homelessness 8 times over, right? So for me, it kind of takes in question, like, okay, if I had and guys, it's his money. We can't blame the guy for what he does with his money, but $148 billion on an app that's probably dying. I don't understand. I don't understand. So there are a lot of things that wealthy people could do, but guys, they won't. So we have to do this ourselves. We have to make choices ourselves. I understand you have to go to the market and buy whatever plastic bottle is there because that's the only material that we have right now. It's plastic. But some normal guy in Philadelphia who lives downtown is not going to create a new plastic bottle formula decomposing function, right? We're all normal people. So we have to fight ourselves. Now, number 2, it says, should the death penalty be abolished? Guys, this is a really sensitive topic, but there are some really, really crazy people out there. And why I'm not really jumping on the sides of this one is because, say, for instance, let's talk about the Moscow event last time, right? The guys went into this, I guess, concert and shot like 100 people. I forgot how many people they killed. It was way too many. Over one person is way too many. Even one person is way too many, but they killed a lot of people. But putting them in jail, it does separate them from society. It does keep them from the normal me and yous out there. But what does that do? What does that teach them? It doesn't really help. And I'm not saying that we should have the death penalty, but I think that sometimes putting people in jail actually it doesn't really solve the situation. Of course, I think there should be programs to deal with a lot of the issues that we face in society. A lot of people, when we have gun shootings in America, they say, oh, we need to work on mental health. We need to, work on psychology. But the real issue is that we got to get rid of guns, guys. I'm sorry. We have to get rid of the guns. And because when you can go into Walmart or wherever, some downtown store, and buy something that could take out an entire baseball game, that's just wrong. Automatically, that's just wrong. So for me, I don't want to say it should be fully abolished because there's some really evil people out there that we actually don't know. And they're probably planning something right now, and I hope they don't do anything. I hope they get caught by whatever law enforcement agency is out there. But I don't want to say it's going to be fully abolished, because there are some really crazy people out there. Number 3, if you have proof that your coworker inappropriately touched you and the company didn't do anything, would you sue the company and report to the police, or let it slide? I won't sue the company unless the superiors don't do anything, right? If they don't do any, like if I've provided the evidence, showed the video, say, hey, like this, because I'm a man. If another guy touches me, we're probably just going to go fist to fist, because that's weird. But if a woman touches me inappropriately in the office, some IEs can get a little bit, in Taiwan, they say chidofu. Like there's some aunties in Taiwan will, flirt with me. And then, I kind of take it in an innocent way, but sometimes it's a little uncomfortable. But from a working standpoint, if they inappropriately touch me and I provided evidence to my supervisor and they tried to hide it, that's when I would take what we call legal action. I would have to sue the company. And in addition to, I guess reporting it to the police is actually suing. It's kind of two things that you do, because I think it's similar to the States in Taiwan. It's a civil and a criminal court, a civil case and a criminal case. And I think the best is just to get both of them at the same time. So first report to the police what happened, report to the company, and just be ready for a payday, right? Just be ready for a very beautiful payday. Now, a lot of people in that company might not like you and say, hey, let it go. It's just a guy. It's just a girl. And this is the problem, guys. We're always taught and trained and cultivated to turn a blind eye. We are always taught to say, let it go. So I think for me, I would have to sue the company, because this is a really terrible situation if someone is inappropriately touching you. And if they're not warned and notified once, guys, they will do it twice and 3 times and 4 times. And I think that you have to speak up. You have to talk to people. You have to speak to people. But unfortunately, we live in a world where you have to have evidence. Now, if you don't have the evidence, you're just going to have to catch them by yourself, right? You're just going to have to put some phone somewhere where they're usually doing it behind closed doors or on the stairway or whatever. And you find as much evidence, because sometimes that person could be a very powerful person in the organization, or a very important person as far as performance or sales or marketing, whatever. So you have to protect yourself. You have to be smart. You have to do what you need to do. For me, I would definitely sue. Now, number 4, I couldn't wait to talk about this one. Should election debates be live streamed? Absolutely, yes. Guys, if you make a couple, hesitations and stumbles in your speech, that doesn't change my opinion about you, right? If you mess up in your speech. But when you say something absolutely crazy and insane, that just doesn't make sense. And that's who you really are as a politician, as a candidate that I'm supposed to be voting in, or that you would like me to vote in, for you. So, and then you mess up in your speech and say something absolutely insane that's really against human nature, then of course, I'm not going to vote for you. But I think being live streamed is a really good, strategy to see who we will potentially be electing for the certain position, if it's a mayoral election or presidential election. I think that live streaming, when I first heard about it, is a really, really good idea, because we really see who people are. Yes, if you're one of the candidates listening to this, lights, camera, whatever, yes, you need to train for your next debate, because people live streaming is a trend. They're not going to change that. Unless it's a country where, there is no voting. We're not going to say some names. We're just, I'm going to be the president and that's it. In that type of situation, live streaming is useless. But in a democratic circumstance, like the 2 countries, U.S. and Taiwan, I think live streaming is really good. I hope that they do live streaming in Taiwan to really show it doesn't make you look less a person because you stumble on your words. People want to see the real you. People want to know the real you. So that's really, really critical. So should election debates be live streamed? I think absolutely yes. Now, this is called piggyback. That means it's jumping off the last one. So we're going to piggyback off number 4 to number 5. Should election candidates receive the debate questions before the live debate, or lack of preparation is more exciting? I don't think they should be prepared, right? I don't want them to go and train and practice. And some advisor, some consultant helps them answer the question. So that means if they have been assisted, they have been helped. I don't want that. I want it to be fresh. So I think lack of preparation is not from an entertainment perspective, but when you're catching these questions without practice, without preparation, that again is who you really are as a candidate. That's exactly who you are. So should the election candidates, should they have the questions? I think no. I think absolutely no. They should not have the questions. They should have no idea what's going to be asked. They should literally just be thrown in the fire live so we can see who they are. So we can see how these people are who's supposed to be leading your country or your region or your city or your district. How are they under pressure, right? And I think like that's really good when you see people under pressure. Now, some people are really amazing leaders. They're just not good speakers. And if that situation, if you're one of these people in the future who are not really good at speaking but want to be a leader, please practice, because live streaming, I don't think this trend is going anywhere. Now, the next one, it says, this is number 6. We're talking about Wavemaker episode 3. And guys, when you listen, you got to put your comments and questions, right? Please put your comments. We want to know what you're thinking. We want to know, I don't want to say we want to know. We're excited to know. Let me rephrase that. We're excited to know. Number 6, Wavemaker episode 3 on Netflix, English subtitles. If the government is allowing so many loopholes when it comes to going green, should we blame large organizations or the government? Now, I'm not into the name calling here or pointing the finger, but there are a lot of loopholes when it comes to green. And when I'm talking about going green, there's so many companies right now, what we call greenwashing, right? Greenwashing is like you're pretending to go green, but you're not really going green, right? You're just pretending to go green. And I think that, yes. Okay, let me give an example, right? If you have kids. Now, of course, you want your child to listen to you. So you tell your child, let me go back to the beginning. When you tell your child to go clean the room, right? Of course, you want them to listen to you as a parent, but you want them to genuinely clean their room because they know that having a clean room and having a clean life is a good thing. Yes, it's good that they listen to you as a parent and they respect you, but if they always do everything based on if you're going to beat them or if you're going to yell at them, they're not going to grow up on the right way, because they're not doing things for the natural purpose of it. They're doing it because they feel like, wait, my mom said do it, just do it. But they're not doing it because like, okay, yes, having a clean room is great. Having a clean life is good. And this is what people are growing up with, right? These large organizations, they get together, they got a pool of money from somewhere, investors and shareholders, and the government says like, hey, you need to greenwash. You need to go green. And so they're greenwashing, right? They're actually, creating plans, creating the annual reports, financial reports, or showing the initiatives to let the government, check the name off, right? So after that, they think they're in the clear. And once they think they're in the clear, they're just going to keep doing the same thing because, guys, it's been a loophole created. Now, back to Trump. The problem with Trump is that he's found the loopholes. He's found so many loopholes when it comes to finance that the government can't really do too much. So that's the problem. But he's messed up in a lot of other ways, but he's found those loopholes. And that's what the problem. We need to close these loopholes. Number 7, should actors with no political background be allowed to run for presidential elections? Ukraine did it. Zelensky is there. And to be honest, he's a great leader. I'm not going to say, I don't know much about him, but he's able to fight off and fight against his very, very powerful country and sustain this long, of course, with a little bit of financial aid from, Uncle Sam. But I think it happens. But, it depends on, like I say, the live debate to see what they are. They could be acting in a live debate. They could be, Oscar Academy winner in the debate. So sometimes live debates are really good to help see. But, I think there was a situation in Taiwan where someone was an actor running for president or VP. And then, people were kind of a little bit, like, hey, yeah, she was famous, but I don't know. It's a little bit different. Now, so for me, I would say probably not, but Zelensky has proved me wrong. So we'll see. Maybe there will be. Number 8, if a democratic country's constitution emphasizes freedom of speech, should citizens be allowed to say anything online? Yes, we should be allowed to say anything we want if it's not hurting people's feelings and causing them to go kill themselves, right? Causing them to have mental breakdowns, right? I think in general, we need to ethically be able to post the right word. We can disagree. We can say LeBron sucks. We can say LeBron James is a terrible basketball player. But when you start to talk about his family, you're crossing the line, guys. You are literally crossing the line when you start talking about people's families and they should die and things like that. You first of all, you shouldn't have an account You should say free. You can say anything you want about his basketball performance, like he's trash. I think they don't care. But when you start getting into the sensitive topics, like their kin and their blood, that's when it gets crazy. Now, please don't do that. Number 9, do you feel the meaning of democracy is not really democratic? That really depends on the situation, guys. I mean, you know, when we're talking about democracy, what is it really, right? Who created it? Because it's always kind of based, a lot of things, not just democratic or democracy, a lot of things are based on who created, who coined the actual word, right? And that's the problem. So is the meaning of democracy not really democratic? That really depends on who created the term and what country we're dealing with. So democracy is based on what the laws in that particular country have created and what the citizens have been trained to believe. Because not always the time, it's not always the same situation when the legal system is matching to the societal view. Now, number 10, should we enact a new law to impeach presidents who don't achieve at least one of their promises during the first year of their presidential term? I hope so, guys. If, you know, when they're doing these, you know, campaigns and running around and making these promises, you got to keep at least one promise. And I think they should do that. There should be a law to impeach presidents to say, hey, you didn't achieve anything that you said in your campaign. It's been 1 year, right? I think that should definitely be a new law. Should we impeach the presidents who don't achieve at least one of their promises during the first year of the presidential campaign? I think that should absolutely be a law. Like, what are you doing after 1 year, right? Number 11, it says, should there be an age limit on how old you can be to run for president? Guys, I actually think the age limit should be like 65. If you want to push it up 68, whatever, it should definitely be 65. Because, I mean, we, especially in the States, we got these 2 old raisins. You know, like they are old. And Trump has lately started messing up his speech like Biden. They're probably really great people. But, guys, there should be a certain age limit. So that's my answer on that one. Number 12, should there be a new law that fines people for not leaving you alone when you clearly show that you are not interested? One, I super hate these type of people who shoot everybody, like the videos of you in a cafe and you didn't ask permission and they're just shooting your picture, shooting the whole area. I hate that in general. It was random, but that made me think about it. But if someone is not leaving you alone and you told them not to leave you alone, there should be a very clear fine. I think that would be very democratic if we created a fine for that. Definitely. Like, if they're not leaving you alone and you've clearly said you don't want to be bothered, then why are they still here, right? That's just a very basic common sense. So, like I said, this is connected to the show. I can't give too many details of when it happened exactly, but it is in episode 3, so you probably know when episode it is. So there should be a new law that fines people, because you should say, hey, I've warned you. I've sent you a message. And Apple should do something like that, where I can send something to your phone and says, hey, leave me alone. You've been warned. And that goes to the police database. Number 13, well, I had to ask, guys. I'm sorry. Should TV shows and dramas hire an English consultant to train their actors and actresses to sound more authentic? There were some scenes in the show, and I'm not picky, guys. I'm not picky, but I am picky. There were some scenes in the show where they were speaking English, and I was like, oh, my God. It sounded really fake to some certain degree. Now, I'm not saying the show is bad, but it sounded a little bit, not really authentic English. And it doesn't need to be native English, but it should be a little bit more authentic, right? But it was a little bit like acting, and they are acting, actually. But I definitely think that TV shows and dramas in non-native speaking countries should hire the English consultant. And I'm not talking about RBZ English, but I am talking about RBZ English, to hire them to help, to say, hey, is this natural? Is this what's being said in the U.S.? Something like that. Definitely, they should be hired. And now it says, when you are trying to make up to your spouse, do you cook dinner, talk it out, or whatever? Ego is king. For me, guys, first of all, I would talk it out. Of course, I would cook the dinner, but I think that's you better cook the dinner, because I'm really good in barbecuing. And yes, I said that. And if you want to, have a competition with me, we can do it. I love barbecue. I love my seasoning. But talk it out. Now, we got to talk about talking it out, right? Guys, I mentioned this in so many episodes. You have to be willing to listen and talk, not just talk. And this is a problem with a lot of situations, is that we're talking, but we're not listening. And we're having a conversation to be heard, not to listen. And so when you're talking, You're not really caring about what the other person is saying. Now, if you know that you have that mindset going into the conversation, just stop. Because whatever the other person says, you've already said no. You've already disagreed. Maybe you wanted to move into a house and your spouse didn't want to move into a house, right? Common sense. Maybe you wanted your child to go to a better school, but you want to go to a better school. Go to it with open communication. That is very, very critical, right? So if you're trying to make up to your spouse, what do you do? And let me tell you, for that last option, ego is king, ego is queen. This will literally get you divorced, right? Kill your ego, please. It doesn't matter if you're making more of the money. You guys married, you're together. Last one. Are you the parent who prioritizes your kid's homework or let the other parent check it? I would try to check it myself. Now, my kid, my kid's mother is Russian. So if they're doing like Russian homework, then just give it to the mother. But if it's like math and English and social studies and other things, I will do my best to use my patience to deal with it. So I'm not a lazy parent. It's like, oh, okay, you do the other homework. But if you asking the other parent to do it because you don't want to do it because, like I said, ego is king, you are in trouble. And that is episode 3, guys, from Wavemaker on Lights, Camera, Whatever. After you listen, leave your comments and your reviews. We really, really want to know. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.